This is it. After 15 weeks, 8 elimination episodes, and all of your votes, 3 finalists remain. Loch Ness, Feisty, Jasper. The same massive Grand Harvest House shell, 14 spaces to decorate, 100% vanilla building. But this time, the stakes are real. Welcome to the Committee Crate Season 2 finale. My dearest Paleon tour guides, you're about to witness something incredible. Here's what I've got packed in today's episode. First, we're going deep with exclusive Q&A sessions, all 3 finalists answering burning questions. You'll hear their building philosophies, their challenges, and their strategies.
What was the one part that you were kind of frustrated with the most?
Then we'll tour all 3 builds. 14 spaces each. That is 42 rooms of creativity. And we'll also take a trip down memory lane. Back to where this all started. Committee Crates Season 1. And most importantly, you get to vote. But this time, it's different. Ranked, choice, voting. First choice, second choice, third choice. Plus a Mod Squad judges panel. 50% public, 50% expert opinion. And stick around because I'm announcing the full YouTube version, plus unseen footage from past episodes. This is the biggest episode of the season. Hey, it's Finny Commit, and I cannot believe we're here. The Committee Crate Season 2 finale. Way back in August, 15 incredible builders stepped up. They each took the exact same shell. A harvest house with a medium room, small room, fireplace, Kilma patio, and Kilma pavilion. Completely blank interiors. 100% vanilla building. No glitches, no shortcuts, just pure creativity. And week after week, you, this amazing community, voted. You decided who advanced. You determined who went home. Literally. And now, 3 builders remain. Loch Ness, over 3,400 hours in Palea. A builder who sees possibilities where others see limitations. Someone who makes challenging color combinations work through sheer vision.
What was your inspiration? Like, what was the moment that it really just kind of hit you? You know, this is what you wanted to do.
Feisty, the ADHD gaming mom who creates games within games. A Twitch streamer, maze builder, puzzle designer, living with multiple sclerosis, never let anything slow her creativity down.
For sure, I am a trial and error builder, so I'll usually have some sort of an idea of some of key points that I know that I want, especially if it's a theme.
And then there's Jasper, also known as Viridea Noyatora, the finalist whose building speaks for itself, whose attention to detail has brought them to this very moment. These 3 builders face the ultimate test. For the finale, we gave them something massive. The Grand Harvest House. Not the regular Harvest House. The Grand Harvest House. 14 spaces. 14! Yeah, so you remember that Harvest House everyone started out with? Cute, cozy, manageable? Yeah, we didn't do that for the finale. For the finale, I gave them this absolute unit of a shell. 1 Grand Harvest House, 3 large rooms, 4 medium rooms, 3 hallways, 1 small room, and 2 fireplaces. That's 14 spaces to decorate inside and outside. Every corner, every wall, every transition between rooms had to be intentional. And here's the kicker. As always, this had to be 100% vanilla. No glitches, no exploits, just pure building skill and creative vision. I've been showcasing Palea builds for over 2 years now.
If y'all want to get really, really crazy, where is your god now? Where is your god now? It's a frickin' piano. Look, I'm so excited to be back. I'm king of the world. I can't get that back. And I'm actually gonna do it in reverse. That's freaking brilliant, y'all.
And what you're about to see represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in this game without breaking the rules. And these 3 builders had weeks to transform this massive shell into something extraordinary. And trust me, they delivered. But before we dive into the finale, let's remember how we got here. Every single episode, every single builder brought something incredible to this contest. 8 weeks of really hard eliminations, 15 builders sharing their creativity, and all of your community votes. And it all comes down to today. Now, before we tour the builds, I wanted you to really get to know our finalists. I sat down with each of them, asked them about their process, their inspiration, their challenges. Let's start with our first finalist.
Hey, they're cats and kittens. Tune in, don't you miss. Offending commits got the scoop. It's pure showbiz bliss. Pure showbiz bliss. It's Q&A time. Let's get the deets. Get those deets. The hottest show in town. Can't you feel the heat? Feel that heat. It's Q&A time. Let's get the deets. Oh, those deets. We're diving deep. No stone left unturned. What a treat. What a treat. Our special guest tonight, you won't believe your eyes. The Paley tour guide with stories and surprise. What a surprise. So snap your fingers, tap your toes. It's Q&A time. Let's get the deets. Here we go. Here we go.
Loch Ness brings over 3,400 hours of Paley experience to this finale, and believe it or not, all on a Switch Lite. Loch Ness's approach to this challenge really showcases how experience and vision come together.
Q&A time. Let's get the deets. I love.
Be stuck in my head.
I know, right? I love Q&A time. I talked about it ad nauseum during the first round. I will spare y'all the details about how much I love the human interaction of touring people in person and kind of hearing their side of it. So, let's get into the first question. I have been really fascinated by how everyone has kind of executed this contest in general. We went into it with the shell. We laid the ground rules for a vanilla build. I know a lot of people had been used to building in more creative ways. Some people call it glitching, I call it technocore. Through that process, what have you learned about yourself in terms of your building ability through this contest?
I think it seems once you learn how to do technicore or glitching, whatever you want to call it, it can be hard to go back to vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
But it is totally possible, and it means that nobody's really excluded from having an amazing build or amazing aesthetics.
Right.
You don't need it. It is fun, but not necessary.
I like that. Yeah.
I would say that I definitely got into the habit of being able to there were hedges up on that circular area that I wished I could have just made them look a little bit closer to each other, but it wasn't something that was frustrating. It was just okay, it'll work,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I totally understand that. So what would be the most challenging part about this particular build, that you had to do? What was kind of, the one part that you were kind of frustrated with the most?
To be honest, it was the shell itself.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense the way the rooms were laid out to me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through these 2 rooms to get to this area. And so there was no real, those rooms that matched each other, that was the only thing I could think of to do with them was kind of make them twins, but also a little bit opposites.
Right.
But yeah, there's like I could not figure out for the life of me a way to create a bedroom that was private. You find a way to work with it.
Yeah, I totally think you nailed it. I mean, it's a challenging build for a reason, and the shell itself was awkward, but it kind of sets the tone for consistency across the different builds, and I think that gives people a good measurement for what to look for. And we saw during the first round, everybody had the same shell, but we had so many different permutations and adaptations for it. And
Yeah.
it kind of goes to show you, even if you have that same structure, there's so much variation that you can have to still pull something off. I mean, it's incredible to see. Well, we're just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. Why should people vote for your plot?
You know, I was showing this plot to one of my friends the other day after it was finished, and they said, "I want a vacation here." And I think that's a pretty good goal. If you want a vacation here, that's why you should vote.
That's awesome. I love that.
Feisty has been creating game experiences within Palia since 2023. When I asked about her strategy for the finale build, now you can really hear how Feisty thinks in complete experiences. Not just rooms, but entire worlds. Q&A time, and what an immaculate build coming out here, seeing this with Feisty. Poetic is probably the best way to describe it, you know, given the fact that it was anchored in poetry, and your ultimate love for Hassian. You know, it's a little bittersweet coming to this part of the contest as we, pull it into a close. And I have to ask, one of the first questions is, I know you've been doing this for a while in terms of building in Palia, but one of the things that I found pretty interesting is it's been a journey. That's probably the best way of describing it. My first question is, what would you say you've learned about yourself throughout this contest?
Patience. But patience in with myself probably more than anything, because there's times when I want to get things done fast sometimes, and sometimes it's needing to realize that sometimes some things don't get together fast.
Yeah.
And I'll sit down, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna I'll take okay, we're inside the house there where I've got the Hasun's room, my room.
Mm-hmm.
I decorated my room side of things one night, and it took me a couple of hours, and I could not get it out of my brain. I actually dreamed of that room.
Oh wow.
And, I woke up the next morning and redecorated it completely. So I think in its entirety, I probably spent about 5 hours on that one room alone.
Wow. Yeah. My next question is probably a big part of this contest that stood out, at least for me, and based off of the feedback that I've gotten, is the fact that this was a vanilla challenge. And there are a lot of really talented builders. If you don't know, the term glitching, I call it technocore. You combined different things, different tricks, as it were, to create a build that wouldn't be possible, at least in terms of common knowledge from the game, from the mechanics that are in the game. I'll go a little technical here. Since Palia is a server authoritative game, that means that the server basically it's the source of truth when it comes to things. Well, the game that you're playing right now, at least from your perspective, that's the client, and people have found ways of basically tricking the server into showcasing certain things, and they are able to align items in such a way that is not possible just with the basic mechanics of the game. But being the fact that this has been a vanilla challenge, and you've kind of, I guess you could call it a limitation, like you haven't been able to do those sorts of mechanics. What is something that you would say you learned in terms of or maybe surprised you that you were able to do vanilla in the game that you would normally go through the trouble of glitching?
I did kind of make point to making that slanted roof with the builders.
Yeah, totally.
because I'd have to say that because it is placing those builders one way had completely different gapping together facing in a different direction.
Yeah.
Made absolutely zero sense. Attaching it from one side of the triangle, then the other side of the triangle has a different spacing gap to it. Why? I couldn't tell you why.
You know,
So-
and at face value, like the build that you have, the build that you brought for us today is just immaculate. And you know, I'll show a little bit of footage about the first house that she did for round one. Also immaculate. There's just so much detail that went into this. It's a big plot, and I think it goes without saying. I'll say it anyway, just like we did the first time. Let's drop the bomb, Feisty. Why should people vote for your plot?
Because because of the love of Hassan, of course.
Yes.
I really did want to do a really good job of telling the story with this build. I mean, I think I did a fair shot of doing a story for the first, but with that theme. But I really, instead of just having like a sort of overall theme, I really wanted to lean into story when it was that light bulb moment of kind of want to do something with the NPCs, and I kind of wanted to do something with my because I was humming and hawing with either my shep or my main romance. I decided to go with the romance because of that poem, and that is what we're gonna do. So I just really leaned in and focused on that and that poem, and I really do think I did a good job at executing it in all the different areas, both inside and out.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of my build.
You know what? And for what it's worth, I'm proud of it too. Thank you so much for having me out and participating. Committee Creates Season 2. Now, Jasper has been quietly consistent throughout this entire competition. Here's what they had to say about tackling 14 spaces. Their attention to detail is exactly what got them here. I have always enjoyed the people aspect of tours. I honestly sound like a broken record every time I say it, but it has been such a joy to me to get to know everybody throughout the contest, and I it's my hope that we don't lose touch, you know, because honestly, the other people that we met along the way have been such cool people, and I just want to thank you for hanging in there too. You know, contests are not my not my forte.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's good. I just want to say, like, you know, getting into the questions here, there's a lot that you packed into this plot, and you know, it's fascinating to me that, like, even though we've kind of anchored all around like a central shell, the shell was kind of awkward intentionally. It's not exactly like the kind of layout that people would do, but the fact that you made the most of it, creating your own spaces, I think is something that is truly, I think that honestly blows my mind, that you turned a shell into, you're just like, I'm going to make my own spaces and I'm going to decorate the outside. So you mentioned Narnia as a part of the inspiration. Did you have any other things that just kind of, you know, resonated with you? You're just like, this needs to be on the plot. This kind of makes sense.
I don't know, just with that like mad professor kind of theme, like a lot of the Elderwood touches were like, because the Elderwood and its like spooky vibes really fit. It was really just like, I want to make a Halloween.
Yeah.
And then like kind of a story to go with it, that this professor moved into this big giant house, which is why it was kind of like Narnia vibes. Like, would you live alone in a big giant house?
Yeah. Secretly, there's like a wardrobe that takes you to Elderwood, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then when the spooky floating candles and the extra pumpkins came out, like, perfect. I need all of them.
What was the hardest part of your plot to decorate, would you say?
Definitely this room and probably the main floor of Grand Heart.
Yeah, I can see that. But I at the same time, I can't see that. Like, mainly, it does not look in any way, shape, or form like you gave up or anything. I mean, I think you totally nailed it, like Grand Harvest House and this room. Honestly, like both of those rooms, they really sell it.
There were a lot of tweaks.
I'm sure. As you are eclecticore, as one of the things with eclecticore and cluttercore designers, every item has an expiration date, whether it's its location or whether it's like life. It's gonna get moved or consumed somewhere else. Yeah,
and this is such a big plot with such a big surface area. Like, my decor storage is so empty now.
Hey, at least you've you know, on the positive side, you had a good use for it, right?
Yeah.
This will be your new storage plot, and it's not even at cap too, which is fun.
No,
So, you know the hardest question, of course, which is why should people vote for your plot?
I really think that if you like Halloween, if you like the like storytelling and the like professor's house kind of vibe, you should definitely vote for this plot.
Totally. I like I said, I've seen a lot of different things too, and I do think a lot of the things that you brought to the table, pun intended, totally novel, totally unique. Well, thank you so much again for participating in Community Creates.
Yeah, thank you.
All three of these builders, completely different approaches, but each one absolutely valid. You know what strikes me about these three? They each represent a different way to be creative. Loch Ness, the experienced visionary, Feisty, the experimental game designer, and Jasper, the detail-focused perfectionist. And now, it's time to see what they created. Buckle up, my dearest Paleon tour guides. This is where it gets real. We're about to tour all three Grand Harvest houses, 14 spaces each. That is a lot of content. As I always do, I'm going to take my time with each build, point out the details, show you the cohesion, let you see why these three made it to the finale. Now, right off the bat, you can already tell this is going to be a good tour. Look at all the colors. The colors are just immaculate. Everything about this right now feels very spring-like. This area here kind of looks like an alien landed on it. It was actually pretty fascinating to see both at the ground level and above. There's so much variety in this one section. So much attention to detail, so much storytelling, and so many plushies. Perhaps one of the most interesting things about this particular plot is the fact, again, I love pointing it out, it's done on a Switch Lite, and it makes my graphics card cry. But look at that entrance though. That entrance is something else. That entrance says a statement. But it's just so colorful. It's all just so colorful. Before going inside, I had to go check out the upper area. Check out how everything in this area just frames around that central tree. You ever wonder if plushies, they're just like, I've seen things. But this particular build though is just adorable. All the different kiddie pools, all the different relaxation stations. If I had to pick a word for this build, it would have to be floral. There's flowers everywhere, all different shapes and varieties. I really think the fact that we can put the vines that are on the roof on the ground, I just think that's so neat. But you gotta appreciate these little wonderful sections. I kind of feel like this entire plot is covered in clovers. This is one of the things I thought was super unique, was putting all the mushrooms around that fountain. It really just kind of gives this beautiful canopy. And these picnic tables are just totally adorable. Everybody is just kind of hanging out. But the funny things about plushies is that they don't really have a lot of expression on their face, so it kind of gives the vibe that they're all having an awkward holiday conversation. Somebody said something weird, but we're not here to talk about awkward plushie silence. We're here to talk about this build. I love that little bar. It's super cute. And again, I'm just kind of drawn to all the different varieties of colors. They work all so well. But then you have the entrance that's just wonderfully framed in. One of my favorite shots right here is right when you walk in and you just look up. This is honestly why I chose the Grand Harvest House for this challenge, for this view right here, to see what everybody would do with it, and Loch Ness totally delivered. Those spiderweb lights against that back wallpaper is just incredible. You can see how much lighting plays into kind of like you're painting a picture with light in Palia. It's really cool to see how she's chosen all of the wallpapers, the flowers, even looking at the kind of flooring that she chose. One of her signature things though that I thought was pretty fascinating is her wall art. Now, there's a bug in Palia as of this recording, and the shore did not actually render the shore colorway anyways. I gave the contestants more time to work around this, but Loch Ness was one of the few people that actually leaned into it as a part of her design. Now the upstairs though is just gonna take your breath away. I don't think I've ever seen anybody put plushies in front of the arcade games as a casino. But each one, you notice, kind of has little coins. They have drinks. Again, more awkward conversations with plushies, which I still think is kind of hilarious. Maybe there's some, you know, squeaky guns underneath the table, some shady deals going down. Maybe somebody's cheating at fuzzy dice. I mean, it is kind of appropriate though when you think about it. Plushies playing with fuzzy dice. One of the things that I really appreciate doing about doing tours, and I know I'm probably one of the very few content creators that do this, is I move my camera around slow. I take my time. There's so much detail to be captured, and it's so hard to actually get everything and see and appreciate all the time that creators like Loch Ness have taken to put everything meticulously. One of my favorite views as you're walking down the staircase is this right here. No matter what you do on the bottom, it always looks fantastic. With such a big harvest house, there's always so much to look at, but like I said before, we're going to take our time. And one of the fascinating things about this particular design is that when you put something in the center of a room, it forces you to look around. It breaks up the sight line. And I think that's probably one of the most elegant ways to get people to look around on a plot. A fantastic strategy that you can force people to look around at other things. It forces them to take their time, because if they just try to run through a room, they're going to get stopped. They have to look around, and chances are there's going to be some things that they're going to want to see, like everything here. The hallways are fantastic to make little nooks, and I'm really happy that everybody kind of took that opportunity to do that. But this room right here, the security room, was just fantastic. I thought it was so clever how everything was decorated, and there's a freaking vault. I mean, look at all of that. Look at all of that. There's so many gems in here. I want you all to do me a favor. If you're watching this, see if you can give a good count as to how much money is actually in this room. I would love to know how much money in gems, star quality gems, is in this room. That is incredible, incredible. It takes a lot of commitment to kind of go through all those, but it makes sense though, given this build. The security system though, I think is fantastic, because you got all of these Cernics just keeping an eye on things, keeping an eye on business. And then you have this wonderful little smoke lounge. Nice little cozy area. Maybe this is like the boss's area, just to hang out. He's got the manager over there tending to the day-to-day operations, but the owner of the establishment is just over there living his best life. There's 4 different design styles in Palia, and each one kind of has their own different take on things. So by giving them this large build, it really does challenge assumptions. This particular room, though, really fascinated me with all of the different lighting choices against that wallpaper. It creates this cool nebulous effect of color, and then on top of that, you just have this lovely little lounge area. Every time I go into a room that has that green fungus thing, it always is so fun because it's a little bit of a flourish. I don't know why it tickles my brain, but this particular dining room I think is just very colorful, very whimsical, lots of different lighting in place, strategically placed books, both intentional and not. Thank you, Singularity 6. And then you have this very well-lit, fully functional kitchen. For those that don't know, fully functional kitchens mean you have 2 of every single type of cooking element, cooking machine, what have you, 2 stoves, 2 cutters, 2 countertops. If you're ever touring a plot, you gotta make sure that you backtrack. Because when you get the chance to see something from another angle, there's a lot of things that you might miss if you don't actually go back and look through it again. Just like you saw, Loch Ness took 14 spaces and created one cohesive world. The experience, the vision, the color, all of it just working together. Feisties is particularly poetic and interesting because, holy cow, look at all of the variety that you have packed into this one entrance. You have this meandering walkway right up to the Grand Harvest House, surrounded by paths, lamps, lighting. And to me, like, all of the path placement and everything is just so fun. Like, you have just this path wherever you go. You have these lanterns that gently guide you one way or another. And one of the things that kind of impresses me about this particular build is just the fact that, I don't know, it's a very simple thing, but tree control, right? You have these trees that you have to water and pay attention to and make sure that they're the exact same size that you want. And then the landscaping on top of all of that. Like, this is a pretty expensive plot just to put together, but then to take the time to make everything meticulously placed, meticulously angled, having the exact design that you hope for, creating this vanilla bridge of all things to link these two landscaping pieces together is just fantastic. This particular area is a dedication to Hassian, and this building right here is a dedication to Tao. This is Tao's house, and you can tell it is perfect for a little doggy. He is so happy. Look how cute this area is. I mean, that is just so well engineered. I do like pointing that out though about these particular buildings, is that oftentimes they're designed, but rarely are they engineered. This is one of those exceptions where this one is definitely engineered. Like, this feels like a structurally stable type of building. You have attention to detail, such as showing the leaves that are being tracked in. You have that winding staircase. It's just so clever. It really is. This particular build has so much packed into it. You could just spin your head all day and still miss things, even after visiting it 5 times. I love the fact that we have these floating candles that just kind of move out of my way. It makes me feel like such a badass. But I love this overarching walkway particularly being added, because having verticality to your builds is such a really fantastic thing. It gives people the opportunity to see your build from different angles, and I think that's something that is just so valuable. It really allows you to kind of appreciate the detail that goes into all of these different builds, kind of getting to see it from a top-down perspective. You get to see a lot of different angles for it. You get to see things maybe you might have missed if you were at the ground level, but you can tell though with this particular build that literally everything has been thought of. One of the first parts about this challenge that I introduced was curb appeal. I wanted them to focus on the outside first and then the inside. There's so much detail in this outside area. You have this, as I described it, kind of a choppa roasting section. No, it's actually just a pen for choppas, because we all know Hassian and choppas. They seem cozy though, they're well tended to for now. And then you have this beautifully immaculate sanctuary to the Kitsu. I love lighting in Palia. I love the fire in Palia, but then you just have this immaculate looking fire temple. It has these floating candles that move out of your way, this homage to the Kitsu, and it just makes you feel like you're in such a sacred place. When we got these bundle things, it really was kind of a game changer. Everybody treated them in different ways. They treated them like the sanctuaries that they are. Not just a simple building piece, but they built around it. This actually feels like it is a part of the game itself. This feels like you could find this in another part of the game. This is where the Kitsu would be hiding. I just think that's one of the coolest things about this particular area. If you're ever having a bad day or you're not feeling very confident about yourself, just check out places like this, walk through these candles, and feel like the righteous badass that you are. Okay, so now we're gonna go inside and prepare to be blown away yet again. I love the flowers, kind of how they frame this, but walking into the Grand Harvest House to this view right here is incredible. I love how she created these dedicated little areas on either side of the Grand Harvest House, kind of elevating them. You have these very cool looking barn door things that just feel like you can feel their weight. You have this super cool piano in the corner. You have a lot of different elements here, such a cozy fireplace, a cozy little seating area. This is a space that's dedicated to Hassian. You can kind of tell that. You have this rustic looking bar in the center with an aquarium. The lighting, the seating, everything is just nice and well balanced. I don't know who would work this bar, but it totally seems like it belongs. I think that figurehead is such a cool thing to have. I see it in different builds. Strategically, sometimes it's in a smaller space like a bathroom. Sometimes it's hung up on, you know, a tall mantle for the Grand Harvest House, but somehow it always makes me smile. This particular build was such a challenge because of how much space was there, and I know that resource constraints can definitely play a factor, but you have this wonderful little backdrop upstairs, this nice quiet area for Hassian to write his poetry. And you can kind of tell that in this particular build, there's a lot of respect that goes into the NPCs. I've seen different elements of this in other builds where people either design as the NPC or they design for the NPC. In this case, Feisty's designing for Hassian. It's something that I love pausing and seeing all the details coming downstairs. Like, you just have this perfect angle captured of everything downstairs. I love taking my time during builds. There's just so much, even as slow as I can walk, as slow as I can turn my camera. I know I'm going to miss something, but I do my darndest not to. I love kind of the terminating of sightlines here, this wonderful little seating area, using these shelves to kind of mask different nooks. In this case, this nice little breakfast nook, perfect place for tea, have some conversations, talk about your day. I love those cozy little corners. To me, I think it's so fascinating with the aesthetics of Palia, how this isn't just a functional space. It's a place that you can actually just sit down and soak in the sights. Maybe in real life you've had a hard day, but you can sit down and just kind of think about what it would be like to be in this situation, just to have a nice cup of coffee or tea, have something sweet like a cookie. It just blows my mind, the level of creativity that people have when they create these spaces that they can actually see themselves in. And this kitchen is no exception. I love the choppa just hanging out underneath, and it's just everything. There's so much detail in the way that this plot is put together. The meticulously placed bottles and fruit and flowers and herbs all in this little kitchen. And yep, that choppa is vanilla placed right there. It's hilarious. It just is hilarious. But with such a big space, one of the fascinating things that I've noticed about this challenge is people have taken that as a personal way to create their own spaces. And Feisty takes this to another level by creating this wonderful little pantry stocked with all the goodies that you could possibly think of. I just think that that's one of the really fun things I've noticed about this challenge is that, yeah, it's a lot of space, but you know what? No one said you couldn't make spaces out of spaces. And separating those things, separating sight lines, and just creating little subspaces, like this little breakfast area with benches and a nice cute laundry area. It's so fun. It's so much fun. Everything about this plot tells a story, and just wait until you see the other side. So as we come around to this other side of the Grand Harvest House, you have color changes here. More sightlines being terminated. You have these seating areas. We're painting with light. I love pointing out the wallpapers that are used to contrast all of the pops of color, all the different varieties of flowers that you're seeing. You have wonderful uses of the building blocks, the tools that we have available to us, this wonderful trophy area. And you can tell all of the colors just kind of pop against that dark background. It's not just a wallpaper, it's a strategy when you think about it. the fact that we have these curtains to be used, you can tell that they can totally be closed off for privacy if you needed to, but you have wonderful seating areas, you have that mosaic floor, and again, those elderwood lamps against that dark background, it just creates this wonderful contrast with the lights, the colors. It's so fascinating to me how people can take the colors from the lights, customize the lights, and put them against different colors of wallpaper to create completely different colors. You can tell though, every single part of this house was thought and meticulously placed. It just blows my mind. People wake up one day, they're like, I'm gonna build this thing that you're seeing right now. And this bedroom is no exception. I love the two-tiered bedroom. That is so clever. You have little areas. This is kind of, you can tell where there is a shared space. You kind of have a place in the corner for a desk, writing notes, a strategically placed rubber duck. But this bedroom though, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, if you're wondering why there's a picture of Tish in the background, well, our lovely Feisty loves to cosplay as Tish with Hassian. One of the fun things I've enjoyed seeing though, as far as these go, is the strategically placed slippers. I don't know why, but it's such a neat little detail to put down. It's like you can totally tell. It's like it's a part of your day-to-day paleo life is putting on your slippers and walking around your giant mansion of a house. But I love this cozy attached little den area with the floating candles, the scented oils, the fireplace, and these snacks. I don't think there's very much food in Palia that doesn't make me crave whatever it is. I feel like Singularity 6 should probably release some kind of a cookbook. Obviously, you know, Choppa would be kind of hard to find IRL, but I would love to see kind of how you could make some of the desserts in the game. I love that there's a lot of cultural representation, and it's so fascinating to meet people from all over the world as I'm touring their houses and knowing that they might have, you know, some foods that make them feel closer to home represented within Palia. But this bathroom though is so cozy. So cozy. I don't know what it is about the floating candles that just move out of my way that make it extra cozy, but again, just kind of terminating a lot of the sight lines here and checking out just all the different details. It's so wonderful. Absolutely wonderful how everything is just well placed. You can kind of tell, like, there's this sauna of all things. This sauna. Such a big house. An absolutely huge house that has so many details, including a frickin' sauna of all things. Now, 14 spaces is a lot, and Feisty's approach to cohesion is different than Loch Ness's. Where Loch Ness uses color and flowers, Feisty used theme and experience. Two completely valid approaches, both creating something special. Viridea Noyatura, also known as Jasper, just takes your breath away right as you walk in. There's something to be said about framing the house in with the archways and all of the different pumpkins and everything that just kind of surrounds this walkway. Like, it just calls to you right as you walk up to the house. There's so many things to see, and it's like, yeah, this is the main course right here. But you know what? One of the fascinating things about this plot is that there's little hideaway walkways right off to the left and the right. Everywhere you look, there's always something, and as far as design styles go, this is a perfectly executed eclectic war build. There's just stuff everywhere, but yet still there's balance. To me, what's fascinating about this particular plot is just it's still functional. And I think that's probably one of the things that is really interesting for me is when we have build challenges on stream, or in particular this contest, right? Oftentimes the contest or the challenge become a part of you. And you can tell that this plot is not just a thing. It's not just a simple throw it together type of thing. This is something that's going to be a permanent part of her gameplay. You can tell that there's plenty of functional elements a part of this outside. Everywhere you look, there's strategically placed storage. You have functional components like crafting stations. You have seating areas where you could just kind of sit back and enjoy the thing that you created. Timing is always one of those things that's challenging for me when it comes to tours, because the time is constantly moving. It's not like you can pick and choose what time you go and see a plot. There's a lot of coordination involved, but when it comes to the execution of a lot of these builds that you see, having something that complements itself no matter what time of day it is in Palia is something to be said. A lot of the flora elements really come to life when it comes to being in the daylight hours. And then there's also lots of lighting that really comes to life at the nighttime. No matter what though, there's something to be said about the balance that has to take place as you're walking through these plots, and you have to really look at not just the placement of items, not just the radius in which the light can cascade, not just the color of it, but you also have to think in sort of a fourth dimension around time. What is this item going to look like at different times of the day? What angles are going to be required at different times of the day? How is this going to combine with other items that are around it? The colors of those items and the light that they emit, because some of the lights, if you don't know, will actually emit a different hue of light based off of what kind of colorway you choose for it. And combining that against something like a wallpaper can create two completely different colors. I like to backtrack whenever I go to builds and not just kind of take a linear path, because as you're walking back through a plot, oftentimes the angles and everything that are accounted for when you're backtracking, it looks completely different. And I love just kind of highlighting the fact that a plot like this, it's going to be optimized to look the best no matter what angle you're actually looking at it. You can tell as you're walking through some of these immaculate plots that the really good and talented builders of Palia, they are constantly looking and seeing and optimizing the way that their plot looks no matter what angle you're approaching it from. What kind of blew my mind about just this walk around the house was the fact that was just only one side of it. There was a completely other side to the outside of this. And I think that's just kind of a testament to how big the shell actually is. But just going onto this other side, you can tell that there's so much detail that's packed into the walkway. You have a lot of different things that are incorporated at every single type of nook and cranny, like strategically placed vegetation, the logs. Like, it really just kind of feels as if these trees had fallen down, they've been there for a long time, and everything's kind of grown up around them. And depending on, when tours are recorded, obviously there's new additions to the game in this case, right? Rather than having to have a functional garden plot, you're able to place a garden plot wherever you wanted, based off of, some of the new items that they've added into the game, which I think is just it's a creative use to be able to showcase that. You're like, I want to be able to showcase a garden, but I want to do it in my own way, and I don't want to have to place it down in a way that has to be optimized. I want it to be pretty. I want it to be aesthetically pleasing rather than functional, because a lot of the gardening within Palia, you have to put it in different combinations, and it just doesn't look fantastic when you're trying to go for a certain look. Now, a lot of the new items in the game, like this fairy area, it's just so cool that you can take them and you can really create a story. You can not necessarily rely on the lore of the game in order to make what you want happen, but you can take this item, combine it with other items, and tell a story like a seance type of area. I was very careful as I was walking around not to run into these bouncy biscuits, or danger dumplings as people call them, because I feel like that would throw off my game so much. And I just love how there's so much structure in this walkway. You really kind of feel like you have to duck your head as you're walking around. You can tell though from walking through this path that there's so much personality packed into the way that this build is made, because there's strategically placed plushies, there's colorful flowers, there's a lot of fill-in area, and you know, at the end of the day, it's also functional. You have this wonderful area as you come back from Bahari. You can sit down and talk with your friends. And like I mentioned earlier, right? This is a functional plot as much as it is a competition plot. This is something that Viridea will use for many, many, many months to come. Now, I say that because we all know, and those of you all who are talented Palea builders as you are, Palean tour guides, that everything has an expiration date. And I mean that because nothing ever really stays still. Some of y'all do keep plots for memories, but most of the time, you are forever tinkerers. Now, the way that she uses this Grand Harvest House is really just going to take your breath away. It's one of my favorite views in the game. The moment that the camera zooms in, the moment that you get to look up, and you have this lovely, practical looking porch area. You can tell the logs have been freshly cut. And then you have this wonderful area right as you walk in. It just takes your breath away. It forces you to look around. There's a lot of story in this plot. And the creative use of taking the areas that you have, such a big, big space, and making your own spaces, making this house work for you rather than you work for it, I think is probably one of the most fascinating things about this particular build. Instead of having, a couch area, you have this wonderful little day bed, this little chase that you can sit down, you can lay down, read a book, kick your feet up. And the way that she takes these areas and creates completely new spaces, this is a Grand Harvest House, and then this is large rooms attached to it. Those are hard to work with. But you have this cozy little bathroom that's attached to the main Grand Harvest House. I mean, that's incredible. You have this fireplace, like a legit looking fireplace with double cauldrons. You have probably, that painting that's on the side. It's kind of like an heirloom. Strategically placed potato pod displays. You have the barn doors. I always like seeing people implement kind of the barn door look because you really feel the weight of those barn doors. That wallpaper right there is so difficult to work with just because it has a lot of design to it, but as a backdrop, it works really well. And then you have this upstairs area that really kind of frames it out. Again, even though this chimney thing that kind of goes all the way to the second floor, like this is a proper study. I love the way that she uses the curtains. It just really resonates because you look at this particular study area, everything is so meticulously placed. The books feel realistic. You have a seating area. I feel like you could just kick back and study, have a conversation, maybe some tea, discuss the latest happenings of Kilima or Bahari. You have a potato pod experiment off to the side. It's a little glowy. We don't talk about that much. But this particular area right here in the corner, you can tell the curtains, it makes it feel so cohesive and cozy. It's such a simple thing, but honestly though, curtains around the windows, it just feels right. But for this particular build though, you can tell there's a lot of cobwebs everywhere. And, if you have a large house, especially with the story that Viridea is telling here. Yeah, you're gonna have some cobwebs. It's gonna be hard to clean because it's such a big house. But look at this view. Right as we come down the staircase, you can tell there's so much detail put into this build. Every nook and cranny, every corner. Now this to me is probably one of the most fascinating areas here because this is a large room that we're walking in, and she splits up the area to create these smaller areas, these smaller rooms. I just think it's super adorable. Just, you have these sliding doors that kind of give you some privacy here. You can almost hear them rolling, making that big wooden rolling sound. The use of the dark wallpaper with the lighting, I think, really adds a lot of contrast in this case. And the fact that she created this hallway and this beautiful little seating area, this cozy seating area, to me, I think it's just so fascinating. The use of the colored lighting, I think, makes that green glow even more. And the furniture that you chose, the wallpaper, it gives this mysterious vibe. And you have this cozy little reading nook in the corner. Again, just kind of using the lighting against that dark wallpaper to give a completely different look. There's just so much detail packed into this one small space that it feels like it has belonged all along. And just how she architecturally uses the angles here to split up that space with the building blocks, to me that just kind of blows my mind, honestly. I've never seen anybody use that kind of architectural style for a large room to create your own space, and it fascinates me so much. You have this other cozy little space here. I always am fascinated anytime that there's new materials added to the game, how people incorporate them. And as you progress in Palia, as you start building more and more things, and as new items come out with the game, you start to see these ebbs and flows of old items, new items as people acquire them. And a lot of times you'll find the floors and the wallpapers, as they're new, people find different ways of incorporating them, and you can tell this is no exception. You have this super cozy step-up walkway, indoor hot tub. I mean, the pinnacle of fanciness in Palia, complete with the plushie. Do you ever question why people use plushies near bodies of water? Do you think that there's some kind of material inside plushies that keeps them waterproof? I wonder that sometimes. To me, I think that the landscape makes a big difference as to what kind of lighting you have on the plot, because this particular spooky landscape, this Halloween one, it makes the lighting glow even more. And I think kind of having that control over how your house is presented, I think that has a big impact. I think that makes a big difference, because right now we're at high noon, but the lighting feels like it's after dark. It just floors me, pun intended, that we hadn't even seen the other side of the house at this point. And there's just more strategically placed cozy nooks. Again, those curtains, I don't know why, they just sell it. And I just love how much character it gives a window. I mean, you can do so many things with windows, but you know, when you take little elements like adding curtains and creating this little laundry room, everything just feels so perfect in this. And then you have this wonderful kitchen. Again, I love just having an area in the center that kind of forces you to look around. It breaks your sight line up. You have nice cups everywhere, lots of bubbling brews. You know, it is soup season after all. And I love when people use the building blocks to kind of create their own countertops. You have this lovely little seating area, beautiful sight lines, beautiful lighting. I also love the wallpapers that she chose. Wallpapers are so hard to actually figure out which one is best, but you know, again, separating the space, it's such a large room, right? But having the flexibility to break it up into a smaller space, this level of placement, this takes a lot of patience. That's problem solving at the highest level. And every single room has been given the same level of attention. 14 spaces, one standard of quality. It absolutely blows my mind. I mean, damn. So there you have it. You got Loch Ness, the visionary with color experience, wall art. Feisty, the creative game designer with interactive spaces, cat puns. Jasper, aka Viridea no Yatura, the detail perfectionist, eclecticor with a consistent quality and balance. 3 different approaches, 3 completely successful executions, and now you have to choose. Okay, listen up, Paleo friends. This is the most important part. For the first time in Committee Creates history, we're going to use ranked choice voting plus a judges panel. So listen carefully, because your vote structure is going to be different this time. Okay, so is everybody paying attention? I don't know what HD is, but my doctor says I have 80 of them. So let's go. Here's how ranked choice voting works. When you open the Google form, you're going to see 3 names. From there, you're going to select your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice. Here's the logic behind it. You absolutely have to rank all 3. The form will not submit and your vote will not count unless you do. Now, as far as the judges panel, here's the other part. Your vote is going to count for 50% of the final decision. The other 50% comes from our Mod Squad judges panel. These are experienced builders from our Discord community. They've been with this contest from the very beginning. They've helped me and Ellie out. They know what vanilla building is and they know what it isn't. They understand game design. They're going to be scoring each finalist on technical execution, creative vision, shell integration, overall impact. Their scores are going to be average, combined with your public vote. Now, the voting form is live right now. If you're watching this on Twitch, we'll be announcing this within chat. It's going to be pinned in YouTube in the description. It'll also be a pinned comment. Voting will close Thursday, 11:59 p.m. Central Time. That's 11:59 Central Time on Thursday. The specific date and time will be posted within the description. It'll be posted within chat. Remember, 1 vote per Google account. Rank all 3 finalists. If there's any manipulation of votes, that will equal instant disqualification. Be very careful. Every vote counts. Please make your voice heard. You know, before we wrap up, I want to take us back to where this all started. Committee Creates Season 1. It was a simpler time. 4 creators, 4 visions, 1 great goal. Smaller scale, but the heart of it, the heart was always there. Before you stand 4 grand harvest houses. Each house awaits transformation, a blank canvas for your creativity. The heart of our challenge is the pit of chaos. In this pit are exactly 1,488 items. Each item could help you win or cause you to lose. The pit has more than just simple items. Hidden in the chaos are special objects. Look out for star stones, flotsam buoys, and Kilima teacups. These magical items can unlock bundles of items or grant you extra time. Let's not forget what's on the line here. The winner is going to receive a $100 gift card. Steam gift card, or a gift card for whatever console they play on. Okay, my dearest Paleon tour guides, we are at the end. If you haven't voted yet, now is the time. This is your chance to decide who wins this entire season. The voting closes next Thursday, 11:59 p.m. Central Time. Do not wait. Vote right now. Months ago, this was just an idea. Could we do a vanilla building contest? Would people even care? Would people even vote? And week after week, you showed up. You voted. You commented. You discussed the builds in Discord. You cheered each other on and supported one another. You created a community, not just viewers, not just voters, a committee. That's because of you. Every single person watching this right now, every single person who voted even once, every person that joined our Discord, every Discord member all together, thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this entire experience magical.